Guess what? He's not going to look at me right now because I've got him busy weeding. It's Jelle of Growing Bonsai. No, just keep weeding, Jelle. He nearly didn't make it here. We're going to talk about that more. We've got all of the questions that you asked, and we spent a good hour looking through that. In fact, leave my weeds alone. And do you know what? Let's go straight onto the main video, because I know this is the person you really want to speak to and hear all about him. So, should we roll the credits?
We can roll the credits, but you know, if you want to listen to me, you're on the wrong channel, right?
Hi, it's Xavier, and welcome to my Bonsai Retreat. And look, can you see it? I'm so excited. Well, it's probably because I had coffee and beer late at night, actually. I've got Jelle of Growing Bonsai. You know what? We've developed a friendship. Friendship, is that the right word? I think so.
I'd say so.
And
even though you tried to kill me last night on the road, but that's a different story.
You promised you weren't going to talk about that. I tell you what.
Sorry, he didn't try to kill me on the road yesterday. No worries.
Jelle was supposed to be here yesterday. It was a 4:30 flight or something. And I was moaning and getting all old man miserable because I'd have to go across to Birmingham, loads of traffic, loads of roadworks. And I was going to worry that it's going to be late. And then I get the message saying, delayed 2 hours.
Apparently lightning strikes and plane don't make a good combination. So the plane had to be completely checked out, and I spent quite a few hours on the airport having lots of fun.
But needless to say, that isn't the reason why Jelle didn't make it. It's down to me, really, because I did pick him up. He got in at, what's about 8 o'clock, 7:45, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I had the challenge of the Birmingham roundabout. And if you're not of this country, it won't mean anything to you. Yeah, you've sort of got almost a visceral feeling of what that roundabout's like, isn't it? It's confusing. It's full of big trucks, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's full of old people who don't watch their mirrors or look over their shoulder when they turn onto a new lane.
If you had Jelle in the car beside you, a bonsai icon almost. I know he hates it when I say that, but seriously, I was just starstruck. I was looking in the mirror. I wasn't looking at traffic. I wasn't looking at what radio station to put on. I certainly wasn't looking at my sat nav to tell me what junction to come off. Needless to say, as I looked across at you, over your shoulder, I saw these big wheels. We very nearly ploughed into a rather large lorry.
Yeah.
How many times did we go around the roundabout?
Round. 2 or 3 times, I think.
2 or 3 times.
But fair enough, they were doing roadworks on the roundabout. It was a little bit confusing.
Did you notice I didn't put my lights on until 2/3 of the way through the journey?
No.
Okay.
That's no smiling.
All
I'm
right.
not joking.
It's been about 18 months since you were last here. I'll ask you your views on the garden in a minute, because there's been lots of changes, hopefully. But you know, for you, what sort of change has been happening with Jelle of Growing Bonsai, the channel direction, you yourself personally?
That's a big question. Let's start off with me personally. We said I was going to be here, trying to be here every year. So last year I was planning on being here. And then around Easter, I happened to get in a bit of a fight with my wife because I kicked all the cutlery around the kitchen because my left leg didn't work anymore. And I ended up going to the emergency room on first Easter day, on Sunday morning, getting urgent painkillers. And in June, I was on the operating table, getting a tumor removed from my knee, getting a torn meniscus fixed. And then I spent about 2 months on my back with my leg up and recovering.
But we did see videos.
You did see videos. My wife was happily lugging trees in and out.
Does your wife have a name, or is she someone that stays in the background? I don't like to delve, but are we able to say hello to Petra?
My wife has a name, but Petra doesn't really get involved in my videos. She has her other life, and I'm not going to tell you that she's riding a horse and that she works at the same university as I do.
So we've covered the fact that you had it was quite a nasty injury, actually.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah.
It was unpleasant.
As a result of that, did any bonsai suffer? And in that short time that my lovely neighbour Carol was shouting over, I think Carol actually wanted to meet Jelle, heard about him. But of course we know Carol because she's the one that lets me absolutely go to town on her maples and get all my air layers. And I'm going to be taking some more of those later this month, actually.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
We were talking about the sun in this country.
The sun is just coming through and we're going to go all sort of glazed over and you're going to see my head shining. And I know you've completed some qualifications, and I think it has been spoken about, but just remind us all.
Well, I did at some point join in the International Bonsai School in Düsseldorf by Werner Busch and Katagiri-san. So this is a collaboration between the Japanese Bonsai Association and the International Bonsai School in Düsseldorf, where over a period of 8 years you take classes multiple times a year for long weekends. You get supervision from the local German team, and twice a year Japanese master flies in to also help. And after 6 years, you take qualification as an independent bonsai. How do you call? What is it actually?
Professional?
Professional? No, yeah, but independent shaper gestalter. It is
Shaper. I like
if the
that.
person
Shaper.
who develops bonsai on their own, and then you can go on for another 2 years and you get the teacher qualification.
Right.
Which is a combination. On the one hand, you get it from the school itself, and you get it from the Nippon Bonsai Association in Japan. So I've got this nice Japanese certificate saying, well, you know how to do bonsai, and actually we recognize you can teach other people how to do bonsai as well. During that time, I also participate in the New Talent competition, where you get this tiny little Juniper and you get 3 hours and you make the best out of it. And you do that in a group. We had some 10 people participating, and they said, hey, your tree looks most like bonsai now after these 3 years. Congratulations, you're the winner for Germany, and we can go on to the European arena. That didn't go all that well, and I ended at 4th place in the European level, but you know what, it's an honor to already participate, and in the end it's lots of fun. So I can always recommend participating in these things, not because you want to win or think that you are the best, but just to really critically look at your skills, at your trees, how to make better trees. It really helps you.
I know you've got quite a busy job, and I've had a number of people asking me, what exactly does Jelle do? And I don't need to get, but what exactly does Jelle do?
I'm actually working at a university in the Netherlands, and I work there as a team leader for business development of a faculty. And it's actually a really cool faculty. It is my own professional domain. It is spatial sciences. Now, if you look at your weather forecast, where does this forecast come from? Well, there's a satellite measuring upstairs what is happening with the clouds. There are sensors out in the ocean. There are temperature sensors everywhere. And there's big models underlaying it, predicting what direction is it moving. You can do that for weather, but you can do it for crops, you can do it for plants, you can do it for flooding, you can do it for all those sort of things.
Soil erosion?
Soil erosion. And that's basically spatial science.
I'd imagine that trying to juggle that, plus the bonsai stuff that you might do for Germany or whatever way, and also, how many trees have you got?
I only have about half of what you have, mate. It's only 300 or so.
So trying to balance all of that and also have a good personal life, that's got to be challenging.
I try to stay married, and yes, credits to my wife, because when I am traveling, she takes care of my tree. That's something, right? And when I was sick last year, she spent 8 weeks caring for my trees. So I am a biologist. So I've got my MSc in tropical ecosystems. Then I went on to do a PhD in spatial sciences, also on ecosystem analysis, trying to understand how do animals move around the African savanna. So I have a garden, but the garden at a certain point just runs out of work to be done. And my wife likes to ride horses, so she's away quite frequently. I needed a hobby near the house that I could just stop whenever I wanted to. And I picked up bonsai. So it is actually, for me, it is my creative outlet, but also being part of the outdoors. So I really like doing things with plants. So that's also where all my propagation drive comes from, more plants.
In fact, we've got a question about that, and it's probably a good time to say that as part of this, this is Jelle in depth in many ways, and I think it's fair to do that for him, but there's loads and loads of questions that were sent in by yourselves. I think we've just spent the last hour and a half going through, I think 14 or 15 of them. And, Jelle doesn't do things by half, and I think that's part of the aspect of him that I respect so much. So the answers are quite detailed, and for the sake of one video, it wouldn't be fair. What we're going to be doing is interspersing probably some of the questions I asked him with some of the questions that you've asked. So there will be a bit of jigging, and some of your questions are actually going to come in other videos, probably more pertinent to when I'm working on those species. I will, however, send all of you a reply as to what Jelle sent. But trust me, all of your questions featuring yourself, Jelle, are going to appear in videos of the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think we were just going on about propagation and things like that, which reminded me, I had a question from Roland. It was very, very interesting to know. You described different methods of how you develop them. And I already know that when we talked about this, you looked a bit confused. So I'm just going to give you the opportunity to look even more bemused. This method, these two methods with this azalea, do you mind going over that again?
Of course. Now, an azalea is a shrub, and therefore they're basally dominant. That means that they grow much stronger from the base than they grow from the top. And I think what you're hinting is that if you develop an azalea, often it's recommended to grow height first and then the base.
Right.
Rather than the base and then cutting back. You let it grow as tall as it wants to go, and only then you let the side branches develop.
It's still alive, and if you're looking closely, it's going to have a pink flower there. It should have.
That's a pink flower?
Yeah.
That's probably also pink. But this is the nice one about the Asuka. It has white flowers, white with a red stripe, pink and dark pink. So I have a few of these, and I have a few that I let run tall, and then I'm going to grow out the branches, and I have a few that I grow bushy, and I just build them up as I normally would do in a clip and grow method. Azaleas are quite a different beast, I find, from a lot of other species, and I don't have a decade of experience with these.
Right now, I'm concentrating on rainwater, correct soil kanuma, and making sure that they actually get fertilised, and I use a fertiliser that's suitable for the ericaceous loving flowering plants. This will be a quite a long time lapse, and hopefully we're going to see lots and lots of very healthy Satsuki azaleas. But overall, they're all flowering. They look happy. So anyway,
this one's not flowering anymore. So no, it's not dried out. It's just finished flowering. Okay, but then you could at some point deadhead these if you don't have anything else to do. You only have 700 trees.
Right, so we've got Brian with his mulberry. I've been working on this nice mulberry for a couple of years. Right, what he's got there on his mulberry is here he's got large swelling right there.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do about that? Obviously the swelling he's talking about is here. And
yeah, well, I see there's a former cut here by the looks of it, and here also a branch was removed, and that may have caused this whole area to swell up. Two options really. You could say, I'm not going to care too much that this swelling is here, and then what you would do is you'd allow one of these two branches to grow, probably better this, because this is close to the swelling but just below it, so if this extends for a meter then this will swell up, reducing this effect. Alternative option is say, I'm going to cut this off and grow this out as a new tree. If you do that, mulberries of course really root well, so you could air layer over here like this. And then use this as your continuation of your trunk. You have a very nice fat base with a nice tape, and you could cut this out, removing this completely. And one of the reasons to cut it off is also because here in the top you've made a big cut, and you've got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 branches in one spot, and you see here actually also swelling occurring. You're never going to get rid of this, so you also have to cut this back to grow this one out. I would just probably start over, air layer this, let this grow, and next time don't allow 4 branches to grow in one spot and never cut back to the same spot, because there's a cut, there's a cut. I think there's a cut as well, and that just causes all these swellings.
Could also air layer higher up there.
Yeah, make a little clump.
And make a little clump raft. Yep. So potentially there's
3 trees.
3 trees. Excellent. Hopefully that'll help Brian.
That's 1, that's 2, and that's 3.
And mulberry, do you think it's a fairly hardy species that may take that sort of work? It looks like a healthy tree.
Mulberry should root even as thick cuttings. I would air layer, but in theory they root really well.
Brilliant. Okay, the next question, I think it's from Glenn, and it's about his Sabina juniper. And I think he's worried about backbudding or lack of.
Yeah, Glenn, you're right that you are worried about getting backbudding because it's very leggy overall, and I agree, it's quite leggy, and you've been pinching and pruning and you still don't get backbudding. And you're actually doing the opposite of what you would want to do to get backbudding on junipers. The way the junipers work is you get backbudding if you let branches extend a lot. So you allow these to grow. You see here on top you have got a bit of healthy growth, but it's still not very strong. You really want these very long whipped cream tips on there. Long runners. And then by itself you will get here in these elbows the start of new buds. And actually I've got good news for you, because I looked at this one. And this is exactly what you can expect. As your foliage gets stronger, you get this little growth here in the elbows. And this is of course a very healthy one, but I see here also you have been pruning. Don't prune. Allow it to grow, allow it to run, allow it to get stronger, and then it will start backbudding. And as you then get these sort of growth and they start extending, then you can consider, I'm going to take out the growing tip. But until you get these things, just allow it to run for a year. Fertilize, lots of sun. Then you should get plenty of backbudding, and then you should be able to get all these long runners out.
If you had a choice, Sabina, Juniper, do you like them? That's it. There's really nice Sabina Juniper down at Herons.
Sabinas, for me, I find them quite difficult because they at random drop a lot of foliage. They have these phases in the year that a lot of foliage drops off, and you think you have it nice and compact, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no. And then all the foliage drops off, and then I'll start making these little rosettes of green again at the base, and you start rebuilding your branches. I have one. I'm not a fan. I prefer the Chinese junipers.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for your question, and we'll head on to the next one. Okay, the next question is, I think it's from Joris. Apologies if I butchered your name. Is either Joris or Joris? I think it's going to be Joris somehow.
Joris, yeah.
And it's about his Japanese white pine that he's picked up. He's worried about the yellow needles. And just if it helps, it's not on black pine rootstock. It's on its own roots.
How do you know?
Because he told me.
Oh, he told you, because I was actually looking at this picture and I already zoomed in here and I didn't see a grafting scar. So I was like, oh yeah, that could be on his own roots, which is actually really nice. And Joris, I don't know if you did your own styling here or whether you bought it like this. I really like this. This is a really nice, elegant, lightly airy Japanese white pine. Thing is, the white pines that you mostly see in Europe are grafted on black pine rootstock. White pine are very weak on the roots and they are typically slightly yellow. This is what they look like. Even if they're pretty healthy, you can be a little bit wary with watering. They actually prefer to be on the dry side. They like humid air and dry feet in summer. But I don't really see anything that is of direct concern right now.
Look, a nice healthy candle coming through.
Yeah.
Tips.
Right now I don't see any real problems. Your needles are healthy. Be very careful watering. So you say you water just like all your other trees, be more conservative in watering.
And actually, I'm just going to interrupt what your discussion is about the Japanese white pines and the yellow needles. I'm here at Greenwoods with a very, very healthy specimen of Japanese white pine. And you definitely see that yellow hue. And again, perfectly healthy tree. So I definitely confirm, don't worry about it. I think you've got a cracking little tree there. Now, the one question we did say we were going to deal with outside in the sunlight came from Mahendra. Mahendra's got this big sort of 3-foot maple,
Yep.
4 trunks.
Yep.
Clearly cut 2 of the trunks, and now it's that sort of probably that, do I cut the other 2 and really go for it, or shall I wait and leave the other ones to grow and see what happens with the lower? Over to you.
Maybe, Mahendra, the question is a little bit on what do you want to achieve with this tree, right? In the end, a bonsai is best if it has a certain amount of taper. So from the base going into the top, it just smoothly transitions into a thinner trunk. Now your 2 main trunks that are the tallest don't have a lot of taper. They also don't have a lot of movement, so they're quite straight. So taking them off would be quite useful. You do have one picture, so you have, I think one branch is cut off quite low and the other is a little bit higher on the trunk. If you take that second trunk as your main leader in the future, you turn it a little bit. The picture that you're showing doesn't show that side all that well, but there you see a nice transition in your lower trunk. That would mean the 2 higher trunks need to be cut off. But if you do that and you just cut it off all the way flush at the base, there is a risk. And I think that is also why we have this tree here. Here an air layer was taken and it was cut off. And then what you see with maple, normally at the first node, it will stop drying in, but sometimes it passes that node and it dries in further. So it's always useful to say, you know what, I'm going to just reduce these big stalks, like you've done with the other 2, and you just leave a few nodes there. Then you're sure that if it dries in not all the way to the main trunk. At the end of the season, you'll see that lots of branches have popped. You're keeping those short, don't grow them out. Except for the leader trunk, so that longer trunk that is already cut, there's a few branches, allow those to grow, get them really strong, and then next spring you can just cut it flush put nice cut paste over the 2 trunks that you've removed, and then you have a nice smooth tapering trunk there, and that should be a good start for a bonsai. And by that time the main trunk should have started to pop some new branches as well, so you can start building a tree from there.
I think, is there a risk that if you actually, that indecision leaving that higher, very, very healthy growth, that the small flush that's come out from the cuts will eventually, the tree will decide, I don't need to put energy into that, and they never ever get any much bigger? And I ask that because I've done that to one of my maples.
I think a tree just has one ambition, right? Go up. So where is the tree going to put most of the investment? It's going to put it in the tallest branches, and the lower branches are going to grow weaker. You can see that on every single bonsai that you have. Your lower branches always grow much slower than the top branches. Now you might want to leave one of them for another year or two. You just remove one, let the other one grow for another couple of years so the base fattens. And that's a little bit the question of what do you want. So that's the development horizon. But eventually those 2 branches are not going to be part of your main tree. They have done their job. They've helped in building up your base, your main trunk. And at a certain point you need to say farewell to them. Of course, you can then decide, I don't want to cut them off. It is now early spring. Perfect time to take an air layer. Then make sure that you do an air layer right below a point where there's either movement in the trunk or an interesting side branch. Because then you have a very low movement and taper straight at where you get the roots. Does it help?
Fantastic. Hopefully, any other problems, whack it down in the comments, but hopefully that certainly helps, I think. Right. Jelle, it's just interesting. I've just brought Jelle into the growing beds, and again, it's going to feature as part of my annual time lapse. Next time we'll see this is the work I do in May, and Jelle's probably going to give me some tips and advice and tell me how he thinks they're doing the bed. But again, see that'll be in the time lapse release 2027 spring probably. You've had incredible success with your YouTube channel, and I mean, you've worked hard for it. There's no doubt about it. The quality, I think everyone recognises with Jelle, it's time lapse. You've got, how many time lapse projects have you got on your files at the moment?
100 something. So I typically bring my camera out when I'm working on trees and I record something. And typically when I had a new tree, I think, what am I going to do for the next couple of years? Say a few words to the camera, record a few steps, and then every time I bring the tree out, I record the next step because the camera just sits next to me when I work. So it's not a real big hinder. No, I'm actually consciously making a 10-year time lapse. I found an acorn in my old substrate with a root of maybe 10 inches. And I was like, could I grow this into a bonsai? And you get it on your channel as well. I've got this seedling, what can I do with this? And typically every forum you go to, it's like, you can't do anything. People toss it in the ground, forget about it for 2 decades and then look at it. I'm growing this acorn for 10 years in a pot. Seeing where can I take this in 10 years in a pot. And no, it's not content, it's smallish pot.
But interesting thing, I think in fact, in the last video, I showed you through the subscriber photographs, there was someone there who'd actually, from an acorn, created quite a big, it was in fact you're seeing it now, an impressive oak from it. Yes, it took 20 years. Do you know what? This is what it's all about. In fact, someone said to me, and I think potentially you suffer from it as well, why on earth would you keep taking so many cuttings? Why do I need hundreds of cuttings?
Why would you stop taking cuttings?
Is it almost an obsession?
No. Don't ask my wife. I say no.
I think what I'd like to talk to you though and give you a big success is you've actually got a video that's had 1 million views now.
That's insane.
Absolutely insane.
It's not something that I thought would ever happen. And certainly not with that video.
Do you remember what it was about?
Yeah. It's how do you grow big trunks for bonsai? How do you take seedling into something like that?
But it's a good video, that's doing well. But 1 million views, and you'd think, I'd assume that it would obviously be in its later stages when your techniques and your editing was really sharp.
No, it was my first summer. I think it was
your
video 30, 40.
There you go, it was the 30, I think it was your 30-second video.
Yep.
And 1 million views. And I have to say congratulations. And it goes to show, for those of you who do content creation, you'd never have thought that was going to be the slow boiler that was going to get so much popularity.
Do you know how I created that video?
No.
User comments saying, how do you grow a trunk? Can you explain that? And I was like, oh yeah, I can explain something. So I started recording. And then I had just sat down and I recorded the whole narrative. And I was editing and I was like, I don't think this is interesting. It's boring. So I decided to take a little clip on the side, and it's like, oh, me holding a tree, and then I take another tree, and another tree. And over the course of, I think, a week or 2 weeks, I've been editing this video every single time not happy. So I think it's a video that I spent most time on editing ever. So I put it out there, didn't do all that well initially. It's like you say, maybe I should just delete it, but I forgot it. And then a few weeks later I look at it, it's like, oh, it's got 10,000 views. This is one of my best performing videos. How come? And it's actually become the video that is keeping on pushing the channel. So I get few thousand subscribers just from that one video. Video creation is also part of patience, right? If you want to show something interesting, you better make either something interesting straight away, or you take a lot of time to make an interesting video.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got more questions, but I'm very aware that we need to be at Greenwoods for the Bonsai Bash.
Oh, really?
So,
oh yeah, it must be 11.
So we're going to shoot off that. There's going to be loads of videos that's going to come up with me chatting with Jelle. You know the way it works. Well, he'll pop up in a load of videos. So, should you trust me with my driving?
I'll take a cab, thanks.